What? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's 6:30 PM on Tuesday, October 26th. I'm going to call to order the Culver Town Council meeting. Roll call, please.
William Clevenger,
Present.
Bill Giffens,
Here.
Bill Ham.
Here.
Al Ricciardi,
Present.
Rich West.
So I'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, just need to let everybody know that this meeting is being broadcast via Microsoft Teams and is being recorded. Participation in the meeting is your consent to being recorded and to the rebroadcast of the recorded meeting. Recorded meeting will be available for viewing on the town's YouTube channel. Now, everyone present in the room, please make sure your cell phone is on mute during the meeting. Thank you very much. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the previous meetings, the 9/14, 9/28, and 10/12 regular council meeting, and the 9/20 executive session. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion been made by Bill Hammond and seconded by Rich West to approve minutes from those meetings. All those in favor signified by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'd like to welcome Debbie Palmer, Lake Max Environmental Council. Debbie, the floor is yours.
Okay, I don't know, I sent this, but I don't know if you got an electronic copy, so I made hard copies. Did you get anything that asked? You're looking at me confused, so I'm guessing you did not.
Thank you.
So this is kind of just an outline.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you need one? Okay, I guess, so last time when I came and talked, it was brand new, so, I didn't have a lot of information yet. I was basically just saying, what do you think? And so you asked me to get a little bit more information. So I think the first thing is, I'm asking, can we, pick a site? So I guess I went and talked with some other cities that have done this. And one of the things they said they do is they have the street department power wash wherever it is that we would put this mural. And then the steps are the artists or whomever, we have to put down some kind of sealer, put the paint on top of that and another seal coat over that. So, and then, and what they told me, the mural should last at least 6 months. And then once it looks unsightly, they power wash it off again. So my specific ask is first, permission to select a storm drain. And then secondly, safety cones while the artists are painting. And then third, with the street department, cooperation with them to do this power washing prior to painting. And then again, once it starts looking bad. And like I said, I've been talking with the city of Goshen and also the Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams because they've both done it. So I want to make sure, that's who I would collaborate with to make sure that we do it correctly. We've done it. Another thing you had asked me for were some pictures. So I put some pictures attached to this. I also went and talked with Heartland Artists and asked them, is this something that they could come up maybe with a rendering that then we could, if you give us permission, that we would then bring back to the board, that you guys, either we could do something like, maybe get approval from the board for a couple of different choices and then put it out into the community as a way to get community involvement and let the community vote on it. Or perhaps it would just be something that you guys would want to pick the design of it, just get a couple of renderings from the artists, but they said they would be more than willing to present some renderings ahead of time. Something else the Heartland artist suggested is maybe having the bulk of it painted, but then doing some of the painting, finishing up during Lake Fest, just as a way to get people to come over and look and watch and see what they're doing and create some interest in it. So I guess the specific asks, like I said, you know, selecting a site for these murals, and then street department helping us out with the power washing.
You say on here, mural should last up to 6 months. What is your thought? From March to September or something like that?
Well, we would,
Yeah,
so the painting would probably be done in June,
Okay.
so more June
To
to,
December.
yeah, and then if it starts, and what I'm hearing from them, they said some of them last, you know, a year or longer. So I think that would be up to, you know, this organization or, you know, to say they're starting to look bad. Or maybe, you know, we look at them and say, we don't want it to go through the winter months. We want it cleaned up before winter, or maybe we say, looks fine, let's let it go into next year. So I don't know yet how long they would potentially look good.
You have
Cost?
an area that you would like?
Well, the thing that I'm not sure of, across from the gas station there on Lakeshore Drive, I couldn't tell if there's like a series of 3 storm drains right there, but I couldn't tell if those were parking spots. So I couldn't tell where
Oh.
the parking spots ended. Cause you know, if you're going east and then it kind of jogs out.
Yeah.
And so, you know, right, like there's 3 storm drains right there, which I think would be ideal. I just wasn't sure. I couldn't tell if those were parking spots or not. And I didn't know how, and certainly people could park on it once it's painted. I just didn't know how you felt about blocking those off for a period of time until they're painted.
The area across from the beach lodge or at the beach lodge may be problematic because we're having some storm drain issues there that we may have to do some construction on. It would be a shame to get something painted and then we'd have to tear it up. And I don't know if that is the case or not. We haven't got the scope of the work down yet. We're getting some proposals on that, but that one, I mean, we have some time, but.
And yeah, and I don't think it has to be decided right now. Primarily, I guess I was just making sure because I'm gonna write a grant to ask for some money to do this. And the first step was to making sure that I had permission from this organization before I started moving forward. If it comes down to, you know, and maybe it would be a matter of someone on this group would want to walk around with me and say, okay, this is a good one or that's a good one, you know, just. And we have
Bob do that too.
Yeah.
okay. So, you know, it's not like I'm set or I'm demanding that this is the one I want. I would love to have something by the park because that's where all, you know, Lake Fest is going on, but maybe we do one by the park and maybe we do one downtown as a way to also bring people downtown to say, go look at that. So, you know, it's, or maybe we do it where it's a hunt and you got to go find it. I don't know, you know, so get people, you know, give them clues and make them run all over town. You know, just, the main thing was, is this group interested? Do you think you have enough information to say, yes, go ahead, write the grant. We'll figure out what specific storm drain we want to do it on, maybe, you know, over the course of the winter or whatever. But, you know, this was the first step to see if this group would give permission to do that.
No, I like the idea. I think something colorful like that would enhance either the uptown or downtown areas for the park. So.
Would you have to write your grant if you selected 2? Would it be a different grant than 1?
I think what I'm going to do is I'll write the grant and then whatever money I get, that's what I'll go to the artist and say, this is how much money I have.
Okay.
What can you do for that?
Sure.
So, or maybe, you know, our organization would then kick in some money as well, you know,
Sure.
to make it happen.
Sure.
With at least the pictures that are shown here, it doesn't look like there need to be any major blockage of the streets. But it's some of the other community streets that was a problem when we had to have a crew in, and it certainly increased the cost, so.
So the hope would be that this would be, we would choose a storm drain that would be visible, but not cause a problem.
Yes.
Any other council comments, Sally?
No, I think they look interesting.
I love the idea. I love the idea. Just, it gives a splash of color
Mhm.
and interest.
And if it goes over well and we find that we liked it, maybe we would expand and do something more, but I think I would like to start small and make sure that it's going to look good and last as long as we would hope. So
I've seen things like this before that they really get your eye.
I hope
And
so.
they're just kind of whimsical and fun.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Jenny, you have anything?
No, at our economic development summit last week, one of the topics was more arts and culture in Culver. And I think that's always a fun thing. It'll always draws people in, just like the wall murals do.
I mean, you can add this to some other things too, like if the time period you're talking about is that second half of the year, like June to the end of the year, you might tie it to something like the scarecrow contest and have something contribute, have them combined in some way.
It's a good idea.
So, or some other type of
Mhm.
street art or something like that, that can call attention to both, make it more three-dimensional.
Mhm. It's a good idea.
Do I have a motion from council then for Debbie to proceed forward with the grant?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Sally just made a motion.
Oh, okay,
I'll second.
I'll second.
Motion made by Sally and seconded by Bill Hammond for enable Debbie Palmer to proceed with the grant to do the stormwater project cleaning. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Now, do you want to approve the artwork or, was that part of your motion? That you want to approve any artwork or do you want us just to run with it?
Why don't you get your grant first and bring it back and then have some suggestions on artwork?
Okay.
And I like your suggestion of putting it to a town,
And
Yeah.
getting the town involved.
getting the
with it
town
and
involved.
let
I
them-
like that
Yeah.
rather than, if we make it, everybody's gonna gripe. If the town makes it,
All right, that will be the plan. It'll be some kind of way.
right.
To get the
Community involvement,
Yeah.
certainly.
Okay, great.
You need
Makes
anything
sense.
back?
I'll take them.
Yeah,
with
why
all
don't you take 'em back?
recyclables.
Debbie, if you need a letter of support from the town, let
Okay.
us know. I can
Okay.
draft one for Bill to sign.
Okay, we can
Okay,
do that.
great. Yeah, thank you. Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, regional cellar plan update.
I can cover that with the town manager report.
Okay. Well, then let's skip stellar plan 2 and go into just town manager's
Or
report.
do you want to
I'm
give
looking at
us the
Oh, you're
letter of
looking-
engagement?
I'm looking at a
different-
You're looking at a different, well, I see, I copied mine this afternoon. No, actually, we got the engagement one. Okay, next. Approved letter of engagement with Barnes and Thornburg.
I believe you actually.
Yeah, actually we did, and we were gonna add CRC on that, and they did that, and I think you guys approved it.
They
didn't you?
approved
it
Yeah,
last
So it's just, really just, I think,
Authorizing me to,
Yeah.
authorizing me to sign it.
and I thought you guys authorized him to sign it before,
Yeah.
once that was added.
Okay,
Okay.
And the scope of this one particularly is
You're only on the hook for $1 million.
the Tamarack gift project.
Yeah.
The town one is just that.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
so we've already made the motion.
Yeah, it's in the middle.
It's in the minutes.
It took 2 weeks to get it basically cycled it back.
We've already done it, apparently.
I'll do it.
Here we go.
Glad you did that since we had a meeting. More.
All right, next, resolution 2021-003. Resolution authorizing application submission and local match commitment.
Yeah, this is Shannon wrote a resolution.
Right.
It's required by Okra that you officially approve us applying for the park project grant that Shannon's been working on. It also says that we are providing a local match through our park department,
Mhm.
60,000. And then there's 60,000 coming from the CRC on that match. And by elected officials that says, yes, we're doing that, and it goes in that application packet.
So I need a motion to enable me to sign this resolution authorizing the application submission for the $120,000 grant, 60,000 of it paid by park fund and 60,000 of it paid by redevelopment.
So moved.
Pardon?
Right,
Yeah.
that's the match.
I said $120,000
Doesn't
match.
matter, right?
So moved.
Up for a $600,000 grant.
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Bill Hammond, seconded by Sally, authorizing me to sign this grant application form. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now we got regional stand, stellar plan update and stellar plan update, so we'll talk town managers.
PM report.
Right.
We're still waiting for a date from Rocky. Bob's trying to get him to do that very soon for the electrical vehicle charging. Crack sealing is done. We're just trying to get the grates done, so that Bob can get into paved on the paving and crack sealing for the community crossing grant. State Road 10 sidewalks in Jefferson Street. As I told you guys, we have 2 properties that have some drainage issues off of this that we're waiting on Shore Group to take a look at the engineering on it, because it was done to spec. And once we get that cleaned up, we can do the punch list walkthrough. Lake Max Phase 2, as you can see, we're currently behind the Overmeyer building. Asphalt did arrive this week and got poured before the latest rain. So we're finishing up that part of the project, and then we'll move on depending on weather and how cold it gets.
You guys have some pretty impressive concrete going in around here. I'll say that for you.
It's gonna use some new parking over there too. Lake Max Phase 3, I pinged the academy on the utility agreement. Hopefully we'll hear soon, but knowing that we're going to be meeting with them on the emergency services stuff, we'll remind them at that meeting, Bill, to get that back to us.
If I could jump in, Marshall County Drainage Board is working on that drain underneath the railroad right of way up there north of their property. It's adjacent to the other landowner. And it looks like they're gonna try and work something out so that
Okay.
if we get to that point, we should be able to continue through that abandoned right of way.
They were nice to collaborate with us in the academy and trying to get that worked out. So I really appreciate how they communicated about that. Slate and Jefferson Street Trail, that's part of our regional plan. It'll be a while before we move forward on that. I'm gonna skip down to Dixon Water Tower inspection proposal. As you guys saw from Karen's notice on TGL, that project took place last week.
Mhm.
The tower has refilled, and I believe we are now into the second test. When they both come back okay, you can reopen it essentially, which should happen this week, I'm assuming. The water project proposal from Midwestern, that's also waiting on that utility agreement. Peerless proposal of the new well, we're still waiting on item results. It sometimes take a while before we can get going on construction for that. Let's skip over to stop sign. I need to take that off. The last thing under utilities is there's an alley on South Ohio Street on the east side behind several homes. NIPSCO is requesting we open that alley up. And as I've described in this note, the issue there is that some things have been built on that alley over time, including 2 different sheds, some fencing, etc. So Bob and I want to let you know that this is something NIPSCO would like us to do. Basically, it's very hard to access the power line there, and that entire line services West Shore. So when that goes out, it's not an hour-long fix for them to come in. It can take a day for it to get fixed or longer. So they have been pursuing us on opening that alley up. Ideally, I'd like you guys to go take a look at it, because obviously we would have to determine when we're going to open it, how long we're going to give people to remove things that are on it. I don't know the process for that exactly. We probably want Jim's input on that. But if you take a look, and Bob can show you sort of the width of that alley and what's on it if you want to see it. And now that I've seen it a couple of times, I can also walk you over there if you want to take a look. It's on South Ohio Street on the east side of the road. It's between the houses in our street department building and some of our property, essentially.
So does it get end at what was the Evil Check building or?
I think it goes but from
Other side.
Hawkins.
On the other
Court.
side of the street.
Yeah,
is-
on the other side of the street,
Oh,
from
yeah,
Hawkins
west.
Court
I'm sorry,
by
all the way down to the,
west.
To
I'm
the-
sorry.
Oh,
West.
I was thinking on the east side.
west side.
Goes down to
and
the
it
water
goes to
plant.
the water
Down to the
plant.
water plant
Got it.
out.
Yep.
And there's also, oddly enough, there's an access road. I can't remember the name of the road that Bob showed me that looks almost like someone's driveway, but it's technically a road that goes all the way, intersects with the alley that comes off of Ohio Street. So there's a way to access there, but then you could also access on the other road that where the alley is. Is it Johnson? Thank you, Terry.
Is it at all passable, Jenny, or it's just completely?
It is not passable.
No, it's
So you
not
couldn't
bad.
get it
It's
from
not
the fence at
passable.
all? Okay.
No.
Yeah, I'd suggest everybody go take a look at it and we'll talk about it, next meeting.
I haven't looked at it in about 6 years, but it wasn't passable then.
Yeah,
I don't.
I didn't even know it was there until
suspect
Bob
it's
said
gotten any
something.
better.
Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, take a look if you want one of us to go with you.
Are we going to need to have that surveyed?
Yes.
So we need a motion to survey it.
We gotta get it cleaned up, or we gotta have people notice.
Well,
You don't wanna survey it until you have it cleaned up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
The survey,
Trying to think.
where the lines are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, we probably will, but don't we need to give people time to clean it up before we get somebody in?
Well,
there?
if you,
Well, I think you need to survey it first, Bill,
I think
because then you know what's encroaching.
Yeah.
Well,
does it go past Hawkins Court to the north?
I think you survey it first.
Yeah.
You know where Bob Cooper's house is?
right,
That's Hawkins Court. If you,
Yeah,
right.
I think so, Sal.
okay,
Just go all the way past Hawkins.
And it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
it's like that, that's where our driveway is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
Right.
would need to get it surveyed in order to know exactly what's on it. and
Okay.
What would have to
Yeah,
be moved.
right. You know, you can say, well, you need to move it, and then they're gonna say, well, I own that property. So unless you have it surveyed,
Okay.
you can't say this is where your property line is.
I'd make a motion that we get a proposal to survey this. Do we need more than one? I mean, there aren't a lot of surveyors around. For competitive.
You don't need more than one on a service like that.
Okay.
I will second the motion.
Motion's been made by Rich and seconded by Bill Clevenger to get the property,
Be a
the
proposal for a survey.
proposal for, just west of, High Street, behind those homes to get it surveyed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
My experience is that your surveyor is going to put you off for a number of weeks.
Yeah.
So you know.
So they just don't show it.
So
Well-
really, I'm just looking for a proposal for a survey, right? Not ordering a survey.
Proposal to contact surveyors for
Yeah,
cost.
personally, I would like to have a sense on what it costs to
Okay.
survey that.
So it is a proposal,
Yes.
survey
List of
proposal.
proposal for the survey.
Just to contact multiple surveyors. get
Right.
quotes.
Just
And timing.
interested that we need one.
And timing.
Pardon me.
You said it doesn't have, we don't need multiple bids on this. It's
Don't
just
need,
one,
no, but
Jenny. So,
Okay,
You might not find multiple.
yeah, that's the problem.
okay, and I'll ask for both cost and schedule.
Sure.
I'll ask my neighbors who they used because they came down and surveyed the property within 3 days of them.
wow.
And it wasn't necessarily a local surveyor, but they survey in this area.
Okay.
And that was a 505.
Yes.
Yes.
Just make sure my notes are up to date.
Sure.
please. Okay. In the park department, you've already approved the resolution for the Stellar project. Just an FYI, if you didn't read the town manager report, the income survey is done. We just made it by the skin of our necks to get approved for that. That survey, I believe now Okra lets those go for 5 years before they expire. Used to be 4. So this may be our last chance to go after Okra dollars. We may not pass the next time around. Beach Lodge building, I updated you on that. We're still, Michiana came out yesterday again. Though the situation in the IT room got better, we still have a small leak there. And then where the balcony is enclosed, we're still having issues there. They're working on that. We are working on, Bob's trying to get quotes to deal with the other drainage issues on the north end. Once we get those in, we'll propose them to council. We should have those probably before the next meeting. Broadband task force group. My notes said that we were meeting yesterday. We did. And our group is interested in looking at, this came up at the Economic Development Summit, the fact that we have a task force working on broadband fiber. And so the consultant has put us in touch with who used to head up Indiana Broadband. He's now a consultant. Our team is interested in meeting with him and getting a proposal from him to work with us so that we have more of a technical expert involved, especially if we start working with one of these providers with an RFQ, that sort of thing. So I will be in touch with him and get him to meet with the task force. We're going to meet again the week after I get back. So hopefully we can get a consultant into the room with us at that meeting. We're also working on a list of discussion points in terms of how we educate public and each other on what we mean when we say broadband fiber, because a lot of people think broadband, it encompasses several different types of high speed. We're specifically working on fiber, not necessarily cable like Mediacom. But there's other things that we've been learning along the way that we think are of value. And so we're going to create sort of a talking point sheet to use. And that would help in the long term with marketing as well when we go to do the work and communicate.
Are you at liberty to say who the providers are who participated or responded?
Yes, SURF, RTC, and REMC. We had some, yeah, they put SURF on their thing, but we had some that did not want to meet with us too. So if you want those, I can let you know as a side note, but the Economic Development Initiative, we had a 2-day workshop last week. You guys have seen my executive summary of that, along with the slide set that was used at that. If you're okay, I'd like to put that same messaging out to the original invitee list. We are trying to recruit people to sit on both the steering committee and the subcommittees that we came up with at that workshop. Basically, the group determined that they'd like to form, I'll call it an alliance, but we're referring to Crossroads Culver, modeled a little bit after the Marshall County Crossroads team. We came up with some logistical determinations as well about when to meet, how often to meet, and some members we'd like to recruit, so we have representation from across town and even some at the county partnership level. Our next meeting is this Friday, when that original group is going to get together and start determining next steps and getting organized. I'd say overall it was really motivational workshop. I think people are pretty excited to start collaborating on a plan. And out of that, we hope to have a new comprehensive plan with a strong economic development plan as well. Karen Schumann and myself are going to co-chair for now. And then we'll have 4 potential subcommittees with chairs of those that would report. So we kind of got through a lot of information and all the way to let's get organized and get going.
And on the 2 days, there were probably about 20 participants, I would guess.
Yeah, easily between the 2, yeah. And I've already started calling some people that were recommended that we engage with, and I'm getting some yeses out of that too, so that's exciting. And then I was telling Bill Ham I would send him a list of some of the participants, so if any of you want to see that list, Bill, I can send that to you as well, because I know you want it down.
Right.
Skipping over Ready Grant, because that's still in the works, to the annexation of Tamarack Road. We've already approved that contract, so we'll move forward with that. We do have a meeting tomorrow with Jim Clevenger, Phil, Sally, myself, Bill. We're basically going to get going on that.
Good.
Emergency services agreement. I have sent the academy some potential dates based on when Jeff and Bill could go. So I will let you guys know ASAP on that. I will be on vacation next week, so it's possible you'll have that first, if they want to settle on next week. You guys will have to meet without me, but otherwise keep me in the loop or whatever.
Well, let's just wait till you can,
I can try for that week after.
I think that's cool.
I'll get dates from Jeff on that week after. If
Okay.
he's done yours.
And I can do that with you too.
Yeah. Nuisance letters, we're staying up to date on that. Chuck and I have met. We have a couple properties we would like to pursue further. I think, Bill, you wanted to try maybe a work session.
We're gonna talk about that one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna skip over that for now. And that is it for now.
On the broadband, is that just encompass the town, or does that go around the lake, or you know yet, or?
Yeah, we kind of talked about that actually at our meeting, was we're gonna try to recruit someone from the academy to join the task force, so that, because they've got an initiative going on as well, where they wanna probably do some things potentially. So we're gonna talk to them about that. It could be, you know, we could go beyond the boundaries. It
Depends
would
on the
be,
infrastructure, of course.
yeah, and it would be cut on where it comes in, whether it's on the south end of town, which is the likely end, but there's also some things happening on the north end. So, and it depends on the service provider as well. But yeah, that's been a topic for us.
Moving on, department head reports. EMS, Jeff, are you on? Jeff?
I don't see him, but I don't think he had anything other than, I don't know if we filled the full-time position that we were trying to fill, yes.
So you probably could, do multiple things. So Stacy Beckner was hired for the full-time position. She was part-time. And so she would get a $1 raise from $15 to $16. So she probably have a motion to approve hiring her, as well as the pay increase that goes along with that full-time position.
Name again?
Stacy Beckner.
So moved.
Motion is made and seconded to hire Stacy Beckner at a rate of
$16.
$16 an hour. EMS. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And then with the full-time person that left, he was, the training officer.
Right.
As well. And so, Mike Hasselfeld, who was the most recent hire before Stacy, other full-time employee, he would go from $17 to $18 an hour with that responsibility.
Second.
Motion made by Bill Clevenger and seconded by Rich to approve Mike Hasselfeld
Hasselfeld.
at a rate increase from $17 to $18 an hour as a full-time EMS. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Karen, excuse me. I know Mike came from LaPorte County. Did Stacy come from,
She actually came from Winnemac.
no, she came from Winnemac. Okay, there was an article in the Northwest Indiana Times 2 days ago. LaPorte County is having a problem because their EMTs and their paramedics are leaving LaPorte County to go to other places. So I think we probably contributed somewhat to their.
They didn't mention any names.
No, it didn't mention any names, but they're.
Poachers.
Yeah. Jeff's doing a good job.
Anything else you think
That's
for
all I
EMS?
have
For
for
EMS?
EMS.
Okay, thank you. Fire, Terry?
Yeah, a couple of small things. South end sirens back up in operation. Have received it. Also, with the help of Ace Hardware and Lowe's and Plymouth, our stockpile of smoke detectors is back. So if we have people, I know Karen, we usually have some here at town hall. Anybody's in need of them, they can get hold of Google Karen or someone from the department, and we will come out if it's somebody that needs to have help to put them up. We will install some. Bad news is the radio grant that we had filed for, I think it was the second time that we filed for to the county, was a no. So you guys, I know we talked about this earlier on, that was a pretty good grant. I don't know where we're gonna go from here. I know there's a little chatter about it, but I'll have to find out what's going on with it after that. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wayne is out on vacation, so no, please.
So no police report? Park, Amber, are you on? Must about be- No park report
We're covered with what I covered
Okay.
already with the building and the project.
and utilities?
Same. I
Same.
covered utilities. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have anything else on utilities? Street?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Boards and commissions. Plan commission?
As I told you last month, we're working on looking at our ordinance, trying to pick the areas that we've had trouble with in the past and get those up to date or at least clarified. This past week, we went through the 25-foot setback from the lake and the line of sight. They seem to be in conflict and restricting, so we need to work through that, understand better what we want to have going forward. And so that's probably going to be at least a 2 months process, the way it looks here in the next couple of months. But if we get something, I'll give you a rough draft just to take a look at. But that is that the line of sight is restricting people's property rights, and maybe there's something we can reach in between that can satisfy everybody. BZA, we had 5 cases this past week. For those of you there, it was very exciting. We crossed some areas that were new for everybody. And had some clarification on how we want to go forward with that. So we will be continuing that forward as we go. Other thing that I've got is, that's too bad that Debbie left, but her and I and Bob has been a big help. We went out to West Shore, 894, 2 weeks ago. We had some rain, dirt washing down the hill, into the street, down the street. Talked to the contractor and the property owner. They did get out and get that cleaned up, and the road was back into decent shape. So today, and I told them that if it happened again, we would probably give them a fine because of correctly. They did put up some silt fence, but they didn't take good enough. Today I went out on my way, was going out to take a look at it. Bob had seen it yesterday during the rain and gave me an update, but I was going to have to look at it myself. We had a pea gravel spill about 1010 West Shore. They were dumping pea gravel on one side of the road and then back into the foundation on the other side. Tailgate didn't come down, so there was scattered down the road. Stopped, talked to them. They already had contractor coming with a broom to to get that cleaned up. So at the end of the day, that looked pretty good. But when I went down to 894, the contractor was there. The owner is basically the general contractor. And I told him that, we needed to get this taken care of immediately. And so he got the owner on the phone, and he said that he would come out, and he said, but what do you expect? He said, we got 3.5 inches rain. I said, well, I don't expect to have dirt in the road and things washing down. And I told him, 2 weeks ago, I told him we could fine him. Well, as I look in our ordinance, we don't have any mechanism to do that. We don't have in our zoning ordinance, or we don't have any town ordinances that allows us to do that. So the only thing that I could do was tell him that if it wasn't cleaned up by the end of today, that I was going to put a stop work order on property, because I can do that, but we have no other
Remedy.
no other remedies. So if there's something we can do about that, I would surely appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also need to let people know that we still have an opening on the BZA to fulfill resignation of Boo Marshall, which will go for another 14 months. And we're taking applications. You can pick up an application from Karen, and it's due in by the 30th of October. And at the first meeting in November, we'll make a decision as to, or I'll make a decision as to who that person will be. Also, we're talking about BZA and Plan Commission. I would like to ask council to have a work session to discuss a myriad of subjects: unsafe properties, blighted areas, coming up with an ordinance to address those situations. And talks with Jenny, we're going to need an ordinance if we're going to go after federal funds to clean up these areas. And so it's going to be a process, but I think we need to start somewhere. And just talking about it, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I know on our Town Gannon Lake and also on the town's website, there are communities around the state that have these ordinances, and we can just put a feeler out there. Chuck can do all that, and we'll get things in here and we'll craft one to suit Culver. So over the next couple of weeks, I would like to suggest we have a work session. Any comments?
What Bill's getting at is that if you go after blight money dollars, you usually have to designate an area as blight through formal documentation.
And I don't know whether you do this at a city block, whether you can do it on a particular parcel. These are all things we're gonna have to, figure out. And,
I think it's important for us to address it. I think there've been a number of
yeah, that's
citizen
it.
complaints legitimately about concerns. And all of us know and see stuff around town that are concerns, and we want to, I think part of the, the quality of life and the economic development is related to that too. So,
This will get out in the public and people will know that we're serious about these things.
and that AIM blog or website, maybe, like to ask that question.
Sure.
Ordinances.
So does anybody have any idea? And I'd like everybody to be there. And I know she's gonna be on, Jean's gonna be on
Oh, yeah,
vacation.
next week. The
But,
following
the following week, does anybody,
I think besides just the council, I think important people to be there with Ginny and Chuck and maybe Bob.
well, and I also want to invite the BZA and the Plan Commission to attend.
that has to be advertised too.
Yeah, so, I just think that, like I said, this isn't gonna get accomplished overnight, so we gotta start somewhere. The weekend of the 8th, we've got a council meeting and, we're not gonna get anything, get it all resolved in an hour, but we need to start.
The weekend of the 8th, that's. a-
No, the week of the 8th, excuse me, the week of the 8th, the week of the 8th.
We have a town council meeting.
We got a council on the 9th.
Yeah.
You want us to do it, start at 5 on the 9th, or do you want to do it on the 10th? What do y'all think? I'm open.
Is an hour gonna even put a dent in it?
I don't want to lose track. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna tag on to what Bill was getting ready to say here. You're gonna get quite a bit of input from the Plan Commission and the BZA, because they want help and they need strength. So I don't think an hour, I think it's gonna limit what we're gonna try to do.
First meeting.
It's pretty complicated.
Yes. It's very broad, so if we could somewhere find an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Oh, in 2 hours, that's fine. I don't have a problem with the time. I'm just,
And Ginny, when are you gonna be gone?
I'm
Karen,
not.
just next week.
and you'll be back by the 8th,
Yes.
and then Karen,
I'm on that.
after that, the 8th on.
And I'm not available tonight. I'm in Chicago.
I think it's almost gonna have to be an evening meeting.
Yeah, for plan commission. and
Either
BZA.
evening or.
Yeah.
It could be separate from a council meeting night. like
Right.
Yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday instead.
Yeah.
Wednesday, the 10th or 11th, and Thursday, the 11th. What's everybody?
I think Karen was gonna be gone.
Oh, you're gonna be gone too?
Well, I mean, you can go ahead and meet without me. That's.
I'm taking minutes at the
Yeah.
council meeting. I can
Okay.
take minutes at that one too.
If you need me there, I'm not available the 10th or 11th, but I don't know if you need me there.
Do we observe the 11th as a city holiday, Veterans Day?
No.
It is.
I know it's Veterans Day, but I didn't know if we observed it.
It's closed. Town hall's closed.
Well, let's go to the next week. The 15th, week of the 15th. Tuesday's the only day I can't
Is
do it.
that the third?
That's
That's the
like
third
commission.
week.
We have a BZA meeting on the 18th and the Plan Commission on the 16th.
And CRC is probably that Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
15th.
So maybe the 17th.
17th is a Wednesday.
So I already did that.
I'm gonna be in back surgery that. 4 days
Hmm.
in the hospital.
You could try it after CRC. They usually go, what, about an hour, and they start at
Yeah.
5. We could
That's on Monday, the 15th.
Do like a 6 o'clock. Be done by then.
I would say I
CRC gets done.
haven't seen a lot for the upcoming agenda. Of course, that can always change, but
6 to 8 on the 15th. How's that set with everybody? How's that set with you, sir?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say, work session after CRC on the 15th from 6 until 8.
Chuck, I'll put out an email to Plan Commission and BZA
obviously have to advertise it. It
Right.
gives us more time to advertise.
Thank you. It's time we get started on this. I mean, we've been talking about it long enough. Okay, next, redevelopment.
Basically, we welcome Marty on board to the CRC. And we did approve a facade grant for Cafe Max. Yeah, for
Roof.
roof.
Roof, yeah.
Okay,
Other than that, we didn't have any, well, we passed
that's the
engagement
right
letter.
engagement letter. Okay, anybody, yes, sir.
If I can, I don't know when regarding CRC, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is the vice president appointed?
Yes,
And I don't know, Bill, were you a position prior? Were you, you weren't secretary, were you?
no, Gary Perrick is secretary.
Moving on. Anyone online for tree commission or in the room? Okay, thank you. Next, we have clerk's report.
I do not have any claims over 2,000 that need your approval. They're all operational payroll, that type of thing. But I do have a number of items that I'd like to cover. First of all, I've requested more information on a wage and compensation study for Baker Tilly. I kind of brought that up at the last meeting.
Right.
And more need for it. So once I get information from them, I will pass that on. Along the vein of wage and compensation, we do need to have a work session on the salary ordinance. We have to have that completed by December 31st, and in typical fashion, we're waiting until the last minute. So if we could schedule that for the second meeting in November at 5 o'clock. Is that work for you?
That'll be the 23rd,
Yes.
5 o'clock work session for salary.
Mhm. And at that, there's one other issue that that's kind of come to light as well. We're running into an issue where the salary ordinance conflicts with the personnel policy manual, and I need some guidance as far as how to navigate that. The salary ordinance says that you have to physically work 40 hours a week before you can get overtime. And so if there's a holiday in that week and you get called in, you don't get the overtime pay, you're paid at straight time. In the personnel policy manual, it says if you're called in for an emergency, then you're paid overtime. So there's a conflict as far as those two don't match up. We either need to add some wording in the salary ordinance to say, with the exception of emergency, call in something. And then we also need to define what an emergency is. Is it a one-time, a small issue? Could it be a larger issue? How long would it go on? And that would just help me navigate some of those issues. So, and usually with the overtime, most of the call-ins happen in the utilities department, sewer clogs, water leaks, that type of thing. And it's usually not an issue. It's just when there's a holiday that falls within that week, and then
Then we'll work on that during the work session.
and that was one other thing for the work session.
Sounds good to
So I
me.
just wanted to give you a little bit of background, and I'll email out a copy of the salary ordinance as well as our personal policy manual, so you can take a look at it. The 2020 audit is coming to a close, and you should have received an invite today to the exit conference. That will take place at 10:30 on November 4th. That is an executive session, and it does not have to be advertised to the public. So it's a closed meeting. I just wanted to let you know if you didn't see that email. I did submit the 2020 budget, and so we're just waiting on the review from the Department of Local Government Finance. We'll get what's called a 1782 notice, which will be one last opportunity to review it, make sure everything was entered correctly. And once that's returned, and the other units in the county have also returned theirs, they will basically publish a budget order, and that should happen by December 31st. there. I talked with Jeff Rao from Baker Tilly about the comprehensive financial plan, and we discussed last time, maybe waiting until we finished out the comp plan, which is kind of on schedule, and he said that was probably a good idea. And so she was thinking that she can probably get that wrapped up by the end of February, early March, which is about the time frame that Baker Tilly likes to do the comprehensive financial plan, so that you have time to digest it all and then have everything in place by budget season. And so I'll just hold off on that, unless you guys are okay with just getting on their calendar. But I'll just keep bringing that up until we take action. Additional appropriations. I was hoping to take a little bit of time today to figure out where we are budget wise, but I did not. But I have a feeling due to just some different expenses that the council has authorized, we may be over some of the budget figures. So I will get that all together and hope to have a public hearing on November 2nd. Yeah, we have a public hearing on that on November 2nd, and then be able to, I'm sorry, November 23rd.
Yeah.
I was missing the 30th here. And then have everything completed by the middle of December. And then just to let you know, because we originally advertised that we were going to do hydrant flushing last week, but because the water tank was down, we did not do that. We are going to flush hydrants though the week of November 15th. So I will get that out here. I'll also send information to down a link and put it on the town's Facebook page.
So we can wash whites now?
You can wash whites right now, but the week of November 5th, wash them November 14th. November 15th, you don't want to wash whites. It got your attention though, didn't it?
It did. I read. See, I read.
There you go. I just have to come up with witty subject lines so people read my emails. So I'm feeling a little ignored. But
You don't really want to say that.
it's probably a good thing.
Delete that out.
Sorry about that.
But there are times when I need to get those emails out and people don't read them, so.
And then they yell at
And then I get in trouble because they didn't.
I know. Don't we all?
It's a. No.
Can't win. Yeah.
Once they
So-
yell at me that they can't understand why their water wasn't.
Yeah, so on that note, though, I will say I'm done.
You're done?
Pass it on.
Thank you very much.
The ARP.
Yeah, I did send out, well, yeah, just to revisit that, we hadn't set a work session day on that. I did send a copy of that AARP. No, it's not AARP. That's for,
Yeah.
ARPA.
I won't even go there. I don't know what to say, but,
That was my second ball.
well, I'm there now, so. I'm there. I got the invitation. As we all announced last week, so last meeting. Yeah, we probably need to have a work session on that. I did provide a copy of Rowan's plan, just as reference. I mean, it's pretty general, but.
And I was just gonna suggest that we try and set that today, as we said, all these other work sessions, and we're coming into the holiday season
Yeah.
and there's vacations coming up. I mean, I agree with you, but
Which. We can do that.
First meeting in December.
is that enough? Time?
I think so. They've actually, in the federal government's moved backward.
That'll be the 14th. 14th of December. How much time do you need?
I mean, how much discussion are y'all gonna have? I mean, it's pretty. Hour. Tops. Yeah.
But at that
You know
point,
it.
You want 5 or 5:30?
Well, let's go for 5, and that way, if we go long,
There
then.
could be a break in between.
Give a break in between.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's
Thank you,
5 to
Bob.
8, right?
Hmm?
5 to 8.
I'll have it.
no,
No, this one's.
Didn't we have one?
Yes.
We went Monday already.
meeting that night.
No, we're talking December 14th.
Oh, that's not Monday, okay.
That's before the
Sorry.
first meeting in December. I'll send you out a list of dates.
December, okay.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
5 to 6:30, yeah.
Got a lot of calendar invites coming up, guys.
Yeah.
One now.
Read them and read.
That's
Work
right.
session time.
Before we schedule any more, I'll ask.
Thank you. Okay, that's it.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Attorney's report.
I have to follow the clerk's report today.
Us,
Two items, the town, fire department and the town have been sued by 27 Group Inc., VIP Ventures LLC, Four Feathers LLC, the Underprivileged Children Foundation and Green Acres Environmental et al. All of those were part of a tort claim notice that resulted, the claims in the tort claim notice and the claims in the complaint are the fire department didn't put out the fire at 415 Lakeshore Drive and didn't try to put it out, and all, had to suffer this huge loss because all these entities either had personal property there or had agreements that they were going to get free rental space and all this good stuff. Town, of course, then came in and cleaned it up and took away some of the personal property that destroyed by the fire. But all of these are sort of Mr. Van Hawk related entities. Found a new attorney in Indianapolis to file the suit the day before the statute of limitations ran. No dollar amount was claimed in the complaint and the tort claim notice. If you added up all of the amounts that were there, that amounted to millions of dollars. No mention in the complaint about the court order to demolish the prop brand. So I don't know whether plaintiff's counsel was even aware of all of the facts on this thing. I'm suspecting not. But in any event, we turned it over to our insurance people, but I alerted the adjuster because of the tort claim notice that we've been working with, and also attorney Marty Gardner, South Bend, who had handled the tort claim notice. And so I talked with Marty a bit last week. He was literally on vacation, but he was back today, and he's getting on it and going to be representing the town and part of the fire department. Union Township, because they were named, also hired attorney Betty Knight over in Maryville. So we'll have two attorneys, and I'm sure they will be, after they do some legwork, I'm sure we'll move to summarily throw out the complaint. So I'm certainly not alarmed at this point or anything else, but somewhat of aggravation. I thought maybe I was watching to see, and I thought, well, surely we're going to get by it. And I didn't get anything until like the 14th. So I thought we were by it, but delays occurred. So that's in good hands at this point. We'll report further. And then a second is, as I followed up with Greg Suter on 709 Obispo, he said, yeah, we got somebody to do the roof. He had the long story about the windows, but the end of all of that is he's got somebody that's going to come in and do the windows. And he's talked to a contractor, Tim Howard, to maybe do some work, but he can't get to anything until January, he was told. So I'm pushing them. The end result of all of that is I still don't have a schedule. I still don't have something to get us out of the lawsuit or get the suit completed. But he's indicated that they are making some progress, and he's hopeful, I think, that after he gets the windows in and gets somebody lined up, that he can give us a better idea of to when he might get something done.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, he asked about one of the other properties in the area for which there's title issues. And I suggested that, he wanted to tie into it. He needed to do a number of things and he was considering it. Whether that goes anywhere or not, I don't know. So that's all I have for my report.
Now, there was a sheriff's sale, what, a couple weeks ago?
Yes, and
And we had
empty-
several properties.
The empty lot, as I understood, was sold.
Okay.
But, that's a process too. I mean,
They have a year to
They
reclaim.
have a year to redeem.
Is that the only property that was sold? Didn't we have two or three? Because I never saw a list of the properties.
That's the only one I was aware of.
That's the only one that I can remember too. I'd have to go
Okay.
back and look. The list was much longer at one time and when it got to final sale time, it was down to,
Oh,
I think, 49 properties and I didn't go back through
okay.
to see all. But I do think that I saw that one was sold.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And it's too bad some of those others might not have been on that because that would be a way to get title cleared, but
Right.
that didn't happen.
Is there anyone in person or online here for utility shut off or ordinance violation? Hearing or seeing none, moving on to citizen input. In line, go ahead, Tom,
Two things. Jenny, you mentioned
Name.
on
name,
Tom Uhas, 430 Stoltz, 430 State Street, Indiana, 06511. You mentioned the broadband you were talking with Rochester Telephone Company, and I believe you said Marshall County REMC.
And service.
Are those two separate entities, or is that the combination of the
They're
two?
separate entities, but sometimes they work on things or work together on things, but they're separate entities.
Because there's then a third entity that, we were close to talking with, but that was the combination of the two. And Rich, I can never remember the name of where they had joined, RTC had joined with Marshall County REMC to do this farmland area and would qualify for the south end of the lake because they served there. But that's not who this is. You're not in talks with them.
No, we are. We've talked, we've met with them and we've also met with Surveyor as well.
But, catching what I'm saying, that's a separate entity. It's not Rochester Telephone Company and it's not Marshall County REMC.
Right. They came in to talk, but they wouldn't necessarily be combined, or they might be combined. It depends on the project and what you're doing. They've worked together on some and not together on some.
Okay. The other thing, I just wanted to find out if you folks indeed received my email and if you've had any comment or response, or does that need to be read in an open meeting, or just wonder where we're at with that.
is that regarding the park,
The park and basketball court, yeah.
basketball court? Everyone get it, read it?
Yeah, I did.
I have similar concerns about the green space in the park. I agree there are probably some logistical issues with trying to do too many things on the basketball court and the conflict that may come up trying to do both football and basketball there. As I look at the things that we're putting through, the proposal through that area of the park, it's a lot of hard space and green space there. I think the farmer's market is a very valuable asset for the town, but a very valuable activity for the town for ways, but I'm not sure that the right way that we should go is to put all that concrete in the park. So with Tom's position on that, and I think there are a couple of other people in town who've expressed similar concerns.
We also have the expression of totally the opposite, where we got support letters, because I'll share those with you guys.
So
That was the one reason we did it, right?
Yes.
Was the water tower ever a possibility?
No, this was always a park project. Part of it was to get old playground equipment out.
No, I understand the playground equipment. I'm talking specifically about having the farmer's market either Cavalier Park, at the high school, at the water tower.
Yeah, not to my knowledge. I don't think we've
I mean,
ever been asked to
We
put it
had
there.
the farmer's market in the library, correct? The parking lot of the
In the
library
winter months, yeah.
during the winter months.
We had that,
There-
we had it for COVID.
there
Now they're
were-
gonna be inside
The
now.
farmer's market vendors' preference is the park because they get all that foot traffic to the park. Don't know that they'd want to move it. I mean, they requested of us every year to do it in the park.
Does the park receive any payment from the farmer's market? Do we see any income from that?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, those are all things I think that, I just, we only got about 5 acres of the park and now we're gonna fill it up with concrete. It's gonna be used 2 days out of the week. We're gonna have it there 365 days a year. I just think that putting more hardscape in there, I think there's other areas that are not gonna detract from your traffic and would be also ADA compliant if that's your big push. And what about the possibility of not having combination pickleball, basketball, and I'm all for the pickleball, but why not have it as a dedicated entity rather than trying to do a shared space? I just see that's the problem. Get out of Cavalier Park, you got tons of room out there. You've got bathrooms, you've got water fountains.
There's also though the fact that the school may use that property. There's other property out there in that Cavalier Park, but they don't necessarily want us to use it. They may have plans for it. I know of one of their plans. So I don't know that we'd be able to get that space, possibly, but it's school property.
So who's gonna be in charge of putting up the pickleball court? Who's gonna store the nets? I mean, is that all on Amber and they're gonna be certain hours of the day when one and the other?
We haven't programmed it that way. And we'd have to address that. I think part of the reason of making it a multi-use court was to avoid using more green space. Right. Also, it's not always being used as basketball. It's like we're trying to get more usage out of it, more generational usage as well, where you can have, you didn't get your message clearly. That was part of how it was perceived as we could use it for one specific group or one specific generation or,
I just think you're gonna have a conflict when you're gonna have two entities at the same time that wanna do whatever it is they wanna do.
they may have to sign up for it. I don't know. We can figure it out.
Thank you.
More citizen input in the room.
Jim, on 451 Lakeview Street. I just want to echo what regard Tom brought up about the concrete for the sale, whatever they call it.
Farmers market.
Farmers market in the park. He's right, there's only 5 acres out there. And it just takes away from the green space. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have the park, farmer's market there, just more concrete in the park is certainly not attractive to me. Thank you.
We should probably document these, like Tom's letter and Jim's comment for the design team from a public input standpoint, because maybe there's other product they could use that would still be ADA compliant. I don't know, but I'll make sure those comments make it back to the design team.
It's a park. ADA, I mean, and I'm certain I understand. Okay?
It's the concrete.
They just don't understand how ADA and the park and the farmer's market, I don't know how all those mesh together.
I guess if you're in the
That's where I'm
military,
at.
you
I
understand better.
Thank you.
The ADA issue is to provide accessibility to the farmer's market. Is that correct? So when the market is
And
set,
that gathering space area, the whole project really, because it's all considered one gathering space. And in Okra terms, if you're doing a project, it's all the same. You know, there's not, you don't piecemeal it. They consider it one big project.
Is that the funding is an Okra, this is an Okra grant? This has nothing to do with Marshall County Stellar?
Which is
That's how
Okra.
it
Okay.
So it is a Marshall.
It's a regional
is one of our
stellar
projects?
project that's being paid for by Okra.
Okay, so it was a Marshall County Stellar.
Yes.
Let me just ask a question. Are we getting pressure from the grantor to do ADA compliance in this?
Yes, you would.
And how?
Also, if it were a historical, like with the beach lodge, there were certain things you can't do if it's historical building. It just depends on the project.
I mean, would you say it was a condition for the grant?
Not necessarily, I don't know, I'd have to look. I'd have to check into that.
Okay.
Generally, yes, they do want ADA compliant.
Because in business, we had to do it.
Yeah,
We didn't have a choice.
and generally that's the case here, like every project I can think of that's been Okra has been ADA compliant.
I'm betting somewhere there's a regulation.
The only time it
I
wouldn't
do.
is like with
Be a
the
requirement.
stairs on the beach lodge. We wanted to redo those to actually make them safer, but they're a historical feature. So that goes against the whole make it safer thing, and we couldn't change those stairs. So kind of, you know, it depends on there's nothing historical on this site, so yeah, they would probably.
Understanding on ADA is if you're doing a renovation, you have to bring it up to standards. So let's say this door wasn't wide enough to get a wheelchair through, and you're going to do renovations here in city council in this building. You would have to make that doorway big enough. However, you don't have to make that doorway big enough right now, only if you're doing renovations. So if you did nothing in the park with adding anything, I'm saying do your playground equipment, do that. But if you don't upgrade the farmer's market area, why do you have to put concrete in?
You would not have to.
Not likely, but it was part of the whole design of that project. I mean, and that, honestly, that project is based on public input. It got really favorable response when we did public input on it. So when we were there for Taste of Culver, we had all those boards out and project ideas, et cetera. That was our big. And of course, you've got stakeholders giving feedback like Farmers Market, Lions Club, et cetera.
But there's
opinion-
stakeholders
the
that don't have
opinions vary.
financial involvement. We
Well,
don't get anything.
now
from it.
we've had some people who have responded that are glad we're doing ADA compliance there. We had support letters written for the application where people are glad about that aspect. They just have a different opinion than you do. It doesn't not legitimize your opinion. I mean, I get your issues, green space, their issue is make it accessible to people who don't otherwise have great access to it.
Well, like Jimmy just
This
said.
is Russ Mason. I have a comment on what we're talking about.
Go ahead, Russ.
In all fairness, when you show someone a diagram of something and you don't hone in on certain things and say, this sidewalk is here so that handicapped people can get through, you're assuming that they know that that's what it is. My view of it is that's a nice roadway for the vendors for farmers market to bring their trucks and their trailers in. That's the way I looked at it. I didn't even think about handicapped accessible. So to say that just because we showed a diagram, everybody agrees that's a good idea, that's not correct. It's not necessarily a good idea because my interpretation of it was a ramp roadway for the vendors to get their stuff in. So that's the way I interpreted it. Somebody else interpreted it as maybe a handicap thing, but I didn't see it that way at all. So that's my opinion.
Still don't even have a final design in this. So we still have plenty of time for public input. We had public hearings on this because we had to present a preliminary design for the purpose of the public hearing. You all approved a contract to get the final design done. We can take that design back out, these two have already had input that we should incorporate and present to the designers. Any other input, as well as the support letters we've received. Any feedback should go to the designers, and that'll be my job to make sure they get it. So I'll print your letter,
Okay.
and Jim, I'll just document that you had reiterated Tom's note, as well as Russ's comment.
And they're probably already in the comments, but at the public hearing, there were some similar
Yes,
comments
Lions
expressed, I
Club
think,
had some.
about the green space.
Any more citizen input in this room? Any more citizen input from those online? If so, state your name and address and please comment. Hearing or seeing none additional, we're gonna move on to council issues. Rich?
Just to ask Terry, how is the beekeeping fair going today?
It wasn't going so well when I was visiting, it was really a unit meeting. Definitely, let's fill you in on what happened after that.
Is there some way we can help support that effort?
Definitely.
Bill?
I have nothing, thank you.
Sally?
Same here.
Nothing here.
And I have nothing. Jenny, do you have anything?
No.
Karen? Anything more from you?
No, thanks. No.
Hearing or seeing none more, motion to adjourn.
Times, so I.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Oh, I hear it. I was gonna say.
Question.